Oh, the sound can only mean that we have Michael Neel here, one of the creators of Infinite Santa 8000. You may remember Michael from other appearances on this podcast. And if not, you should look him up. Welcome back, Michael.
Thanks, Freddy. Ho, ho, ho.
That's right, man. You have one of the most unconventional Christmas. I don't know. Would you call Infinite Santa 8000 a Christmas special, or would you just say it is a Christmas movie?
It's weird. The web series is its own thing, and then we have a movie too. So, Christmas universe, I guess. I mean,
That makes sense.
it was one of those weird things that just kind of creatively happened, and just this is what happens when you don't have a studio telling you what you can and can't do. You make really weird decisions, and you end up with something like Cyborg Santa Claus killing mutants and robots in the year 8000 with a heavy metal soundtrack. And that's how this thing comes about.
And that's you can go see the series, the web series at the YouTube channel at Infinite Santa 8000. And you and your partner Greg Anson, you guys did a really cool thing. And I always compared it to Liquid Television from the old school MTV animation days. It's fun. It's a good time. 15 years, is this right?
15 years, which means that you and I have known each other almost 15 years.
Yeah, that's about right. I almost feel like we're connected through Whorehound. I think that's kind of our common thread, is where we meet up. So it's crazy. We're celebrating our 20th anniversary in April, and it's just insane. It does not feel like it's been even a fourth of that time at all.
Dang.
But yeah, so we're going to frame this up. We wanted to come out mainly to get people over to the Infinite Santa and check that out. But you and I are going to talk about, and again, people are probably like, who didn't hear the usual theme song, are like, what's going on? Yes, this is Night of the Living podcast. But we're doing a special where it's myself and Michael Neel, who knows Christmas animation like nobody's business, talking about a couple of our favorite specials over the years here. Ours are 10 years apart. The two we were discussing via email. I love Emmet Otter's Jug-Band Christmas because it's kind of an oddball. But that was 10 years prior to Claymation Christmas Celebration. And and you can really, they are definitive of both eras, I think, in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. Color palettes and things like that. Yeah. So it's going to be an interesting contrast. So Michael, you immediately came back with Claymation Christmas Celebration when I reached out to you about what your favorite. It seemed like it was a no-brainer for you. So what was your history with this one?
Well, it totally was. So I remember seeing this on TV. I guess I must have been 10 when it came out, and taped it on TV and thought it was great. But then, Christmas Eve, like when you're a kid, time just stops. Like it's so slow. And so my sister, who's 3 years younger, we had Claymation Christmas Special on when we taped it from TV. So we just started watching it over and over and over again to pass the time. So it became a tradition of watching that like 7, 8, 9, 10 times on Christmas Eve, just on repeat to kill the time. And over the years, it really became one of my favorites, and started to get to know the animation pretty intimately. I mean, at that age, I didn't really know what that meant. Like looking back, it seems kind of obvious, but like, it's like an anthology of different Christmas carols done in different claymation styles. And I remember just like starting to really get the differences in how they put that stuff together. Like some are more comedic. There's one that's pushing clay. It's on glass. It's Joy to the World.
It's beautiful.
And just spectacular. And now that I've worked in stop motion since then, I haven't done that in years, but those people are insane. Like stop motion is one of the hardest things I've ever done. I did it my senior year at college, and I'm never doing it again. Those people are absolute maniacs.
Have you watched that documentary called Clay Dream? It's about Will Venton and the whole Claymation studio. I can't remember where it's streaming, but it's streaming on at least one of the services. But it's really great.
No, I haven't seen it.
I learned so much, man. I just watched it because we were going to talk about this, and I hadn't. And I just was, Googling relative things. And I was surprised how little information about the Claymation Christmas celebration production is really out there. Um, like it was the Temptations were the California Raisins, but like you would think that would be like plastered all over it, but it was kind of kept a secret. And only the two actors who voiced the dinosaur wraparound hosts really were credited. The Rex character that was based on George Plimpton, and that guy Johnny Counterfeit, which I feel like that's got to be a stage name. And then
Yes.
and then his buddy, I can't remember the other character, but Herb, thank you. Yeah. They were really the only two performers that you could really see credited on IMDb or anything. So if you can find, it came out in 2021. It's called Clay Dream, one word. Mark Evans, Mark with a Q, is the writer director, and it covers Will Vinton from like school on and his partnership early on with an artist who kind of maybe helped define what the look of claymation was, who left after, due to personal things. But it's really wild to watch his entire, like his arc. And like you said, that one pushing the clay around, really, you think you're going to get all the figures, the animated figures, and you feel like because it's the California Raisins, you think this is going to be this commercial thing, but it's not that at all. It's just pure art, the whole thing.
Yeah, it really is. And it's cool to see the approach. Like, for example, they do one of We Three Kings, where the three kings are done in a very serious kind of manner. And then the camels come in for the chorus, and they do it like this kind of R&B kind of style, and it's very silly. And yeah, it's interesting looking back. I don't know if this would get the same kind of green light these days. I guess what I mean is I think it was probably done without a whole lot of creative interference from anybody. I think they just did whatever they wanted to. I kind of got that sense.
Yeah.
And I think when you give artists that freedom, you get interesting things. Like there's one that's ice skating walruses that's done to Angels We Have Heard on High, which I think is actually foam. I've come to know what the different materials look like over the years. I interned at an animation studio after college, which is part of what convinced me to never do stop motion again. and again, these guys and girls were on a level I could never even touch. So it's one of those things where it's like, all right, I'll leave it to these other maniacs who are like incredibly good at this.
Certainly.
No, totally. But that one has ice skating walruses, and clay is very heavy. One thing you might notice is that the characters shuffle. Like, I don't think you see the hosts move a little bit, but like the California Raisins never lift their legs. And that's because clay is incredibly top heavy. Because I did work with clay in college. I did some claymation. And, you're constantly dealing with the character wanting to fall over.
Yeah.
Because the center of gravity is just a mess. So
I would never have the patience for that. I would lose my mind.
Oh, it's nuts. And not to mention, like, whenever you touch it, you leave a fingerprint behind. It's like the old Gumby cartoons, how the characters kind of like almost dance, like their bodies are kind of wiggly.
It makes it kind of unsettling, honestly, but knowing what it is helps.
Oh, yeah. No, it totally does. And that's what makes something like, Wallace and Gromit, each time they make a new mouth movement, they cut out a clay mouth and put a new one on and blend everything so it looks right.
It's amazing.
I mean,
the craftsmanship.
I know. And speaking of walking, the opening shot, I think, or one of them of the first Wallace and Gromit, is Wallace walking down the stairs in a wide shot. And I remember looking at that and being like, you guys are just showing off. Like,
they kind of that's Aardman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they kind of become the gold standard. But you know what? I didn't know until, again, this documentary Clay Dream, that Will Vinton's company in Portland became Leica.
Yep.
So, I mean, like, there's like, and we just covered Coraline on the regular show. And I was reading about Leica. It's just fascinating. Like, I always thought they were an international company or something because of the name. But but it's the Portland. It's basically just the grown up claymation studio. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat, and you can still see that kind of what's the right word? not just innovation, but kind of shooting for the stars. Because you can see that in the Claymation Christmas special. I feel like they push the medium as far as they can. Um, and you see it with like, what was it? I think Kubo and the Two Strings. There's a scene in a boat that took them like 2 years to animate or something. Like I think there's a scene in that one. It's this giant automaton or monster. I can't remember exactly, like golem or something. And the thing was like 12 feet tall. Like in real life, they're
awesome.
animating this giant puppet. And, you know, to have that kind of ambition, I find is amazing and really pushes the medium forward. Because the thing with animation is you can do anything, but at the same time, you're limited. So and you can do anything you want, but you're also limited by trying to make it seem real. And that doesn't matter what kind of animation you're doing. And, you know, like for Infinite Santa, I mean, we were dealing with hand-drawn stuff animated in a computer. So one of the things we can do is, well, it's a computer, we can copy and paste a monster. Like we make one monster and copy and paste it 200 times, and we have an army of monsters. So it's not quite that simple, but like it's not that hard.
It's kind of what they did in Lord of the Rings.
Oh, totally.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah,
On you
absolutely.
know, different kind of aesthetic, but the same concept.
Yeah.
I love you and I both chose something that specials that were handmade, very handmade, very intimately made by the creators of each special. And again, mine was Emmet Otter's Jug-Band Christmas. I think what we'll do is take just a real quick break and then talk about that right after, if that's all right with you, Michael.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks. And we're back. So quick. Emmet Otter's Jug-Band Christmas. Now, you dial the calendar back 10 years from Claymation Christmas celebration, and you've got like maybe what some people consider one of the most bittersweet and kind of some people consider it's just straight up depressing and won't watch it.
Yep.
But it was written by Jerry Jewell, based on the book by Lillian and Russell Hoban, directed by Jim Henson, this is pure Muppet territory through and through. I love the outtakes that you can find online are so great, with all of the attempts at rolling. I can't remember what it is that rolls out of the store, like some sort of wheel.
Oh, it's a snare drum.
I
read about this online.
Thank you. It was the snare drum. And they keep having to dodge it in, was 200 takes or something. So again, it comes back to that patience of the animators and the puppeteers. I think they're, of the same, I feel like Claymation people are like filmmakers and puppet people are like theater people. You know what I mean? Kind of like that difference where it has to be, they want that live performance captured, so I think they pair really in an interesting way to watch them so close together,
Definitely.
Yeah. So I didn't know until this viewing that it was Paul Williams that wrote all the music for this, who did the music for Phantom of the Paradise and lots of other great music. But it's Jim Henson asked him to write the songs, and it was basically going to be a test to see if they could make the Muppet movie. Was why they made Emmet Otter. It was a small scale version of the Muppet movie, and that's why again the walking was a thing, like being able to make them believably walk. And then Williams again turns around and writes the music in the Muppet movie when it ultimately does come out. And a sad thing, again, I talked about this, people consider this like kind of a bittersweet thing, but there's this almost like gospel sounding song called When the River Meets the Sea.
Oh, I had to rewind it a couple times while I was watching just to like totally get what they're talking about. And then when I really got it, I was like, oh God.
Yeah.
It's not horrifying, but it's really dark.
I mean, it is dark, and they played it at Jim Henson's funeral because it's like a dirge, kind of. It sounds like, at least thematically, it's like about death. And unless we're both just really dark, maybe it's you and me.
I might be a little of both.
But I just remember reactions over the years. I've shown this to people who had never seen it. Always kind of, I'm like, "You've never seen Emmet Otter," and I have to get reactions. And a lot of times it's a very like emotional, but not in a good way reaction where they just feel so badly. And I'm like, but it really has a happy ending. They get regular employment playing at the little neighborhood, whatever. I don't know if that was an inn or a restaurant.
I think it was a restaurant with that great bullfrog, with that great bass, that baritone voice.
And I love the River Bottom band.
They seem to kind of come out of nowhere. Like that's my memory. I watched it again today to refresh my memory, but my memory of it was being depressing, technically, legitimately brilliant. Like not throwing the word around, but like actually brilliant. And then having this bizarre, aggressive heavy metal band, like just
Yeah.
completely thrown in there. Like it works, but it's really weird.
It's strange too because the car itself is, and I think this was shot on video. It looks like it's video, but you can see like the sparks coming off the effect of their little hot rod that they tool around in.
Yep.
And I know it's some sort of weasel in the weasel family, the leader.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think it's called a stoat. I think that's what it is. Who is the leader of the, what are they called again? The River Bottom. I can't even remember the name.
River Bottom Boys,
River
I
Bottom
think.
Boys?
And then they're called the Nightmare, but then that creepy bear calls them the River Bottom Nightmare Band.
That's it. I love that. And I think that's the
Yeah.
stoat. Is that the stoat, the one who has the does he have like a jean jacket?
Yeah. He
Yeah.
has like a leather jacket, and he has like really creepy, like everyone's afraid of him.
Yeah, he seems real dangerous.
Yeah, definitely.
And there's fire, literal sparks. You know, it looks like those spark toys you would have as a kid because that's what they're doing. They're pulling this car through this set, and it has sparks flying off of it. You can see the light, how that intense light kind of burns on the video a little bit. It makes it all feel like you're kind of in the room for everything. And kind of like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood in a lot of ways. When they would go into the puppet land, only much more sophisticated.
Yeah. It's funny too, like, so I didn't see this till I was older. I wonder, seeing it on an old CRT TV, like the old tube TV, I think sometimes that lack of definition makes some of that stuff jump a little more, or rather not jump, but blend in a little more. Like,
Definitely.
so I wonder with those sparks, if they might match the rest of the imagery more. Like I know like Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one I love, but when you start to get that looking really good, some of the effects, you can really see the smoke and mirrors, like his arms that extend, like you can almost see the gears, in there. And on a really fuzzy VHS from TV, you can't really. So I was thinking about that, is this one of those where the fidelity at a certain point, hurts the experience?
Yeah, because I was just learning about this because we covered the Twilight Zone in a spinoff show, and they did a test on that series where they've shot six episodes on tape to see if they could save money. And some of them are fine because they're shot on closed sets with lights and everything, and they look really good. And sometimes it really stands out where, especially as they upconverted it, you can really see the difference between a film and a video source. So I went out to YouTube, and somewhere in one of our previous posts, there's a link to this. But if you just search like why film and video look different, it'll break down. It's probably the first video that comes up, but it'll break down, that the max resolution is different for each and everything. It's really kind of interesting. The frame rate comes into play too. And it's just amazing how your eye perceives the two things so differently. I think the Claymation special looked filmed to me, but it was so tightly controlled. Yeah, it's like hard to say, right? But yeah, it was filmed.
It must have been, because I'm familiar with what you're talking about, and I know too. When you're doing stop motion, you advance one actual frame at a time. You have a camera set up, and you have a little button on a little trigger, and you push it each time you get a frame. So they probably had a video assist, which would show them what the previous frames were. It's called onion skinning. So it has like a transparent layer of the previous frame. So you can see like, oh, okay, I need to match the hand up to move this much. Or if like you knock the puppet over, you can put it back in the right spot, stuff like that. And I've worked without that, and it's nuts. So having that is a great tool.
Yeah, when I was watching some of the Leica, again, behind the scenes stuff, the amount of calipers that the animators had, it just felt like, I was like, whoa, this looks like a drafting class, just to measure those little differences. It's just, again, it's the peak of craftsmanship, in my opinion, these handmade specials. There's songs in this that I still love. The Brothers song and No Hole in the Wash Tub. Barbecue is a standout. I think that's a bop.
Yeah.
songs that as a musician, even I'm like, oh, why haven't I learned how to play these songs? I'm going to make a point of it this year to learn them.
Yeah.
Cause it's so much fun. And it's browns and grays and a lot of earth tones where Claymation was the full rainbow. So if you pair these two as a double feature, I think you get really a 1-2 punch of palettes and styles and everything.
Oh yeah, and just the ambition of sets. Like the Emmet Otter has the same set done twice. There's the one when you start where they're rowing down the river, which is magic.
Yeah.
And that was a test for Kermit on the Log. That's what they were trying to workshop for that. But if you watch, it's like when Emmett is rowing, the boat stops and starts with his rowing like a normal boat would. It's not like it's on a rail or something. And then after it freezes, the whole set has been dressed with all this frozen icicles and stuff, and the river is now, ice. So I was just watching that, and there's these big miniature shots that I think are probably a different set. And all the details are like all the birds. There's so many birds in Emmet Otter.
The ducks in the water, they do just enough to make them move where you have like what would look like a duck decoy, but the head swivels. So it looks back and forth.
Yeah.
And the simplicity of that is that's all you needed. They didn't need to have big, full articulating wings for that part of the story. They just knew exactly the right amount of complexity for each layer, and the frame is crazy good.
Yeah, I'm a big bird fan too. Anyone that's seen my left arm tattoos can attest to that. And they matched all the movements. Like they all looked like different birds. The one that stands out for me is the blue heron at the end of the first act that's in the foreground. And it's this beautiful sunset shot. And like the movement is so subtle. And it's such an intricate puppet that I think was pretty big, probably, for one shot. I mean, that, right?
There's no manipulation of the audience at that point. It's just beauty for beauty's sake. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like in a lot of modern animation, sometimes you just have everything's got to have a joke or some elaborate set piece. It was just enough to make this is part of, like you said, in the foreground, these more complex, more beautiful bird puppets. It's unreal. It adds to that real dreamy quality to the whole thing.
Yeah, and one thing I've learned with animation, I haven't really done puppetry, but animation or even special effects, you want to add enough details to make it seem real. So, I felt like Emmet Otter did a great job with that. The birds in particular, there were a lot of them. Every time it came back from commercial, there were like birds flying around like sparrows and stuff. And there was an owl at the end of one of them, and there's some geese flying in the V at the end. But I think what it does is it makes it seem alive.
Oh, absolutely.
And, I was thinking about that watching this because, like, growing up, the Muppets were real. It's like Star Wars was real. Battlestar Galactica was on a movie set, but Star Wars was real. And you put enough of those details in there, and, you have all those amazing, fur textures on the characters and the way they move and just all the kind of knowledge of what the real world looks like, and then being able to translate it into this magical world. It's like I kept thinking that, like, man, the Muppets do this so well.
They really do.
It's just, it's incredible.
I was just watching this was a filmmaker who was talking about the difference between haptic and I can't remember the other word, but haptic is where where you have a depth of field that goes further into the scene and it makes the scene feel more immersive is the way I understand it. You're a filmmaker. You'll know this more than I do. And then they're saying like nowadays it's more likely the background is blurred. And
I was reading this.
Yeah. And it didn't occur to me because I think of basic photography. Yeah. You want your subject in focus and you don't want the background to distract from the subject. So that makes sense to me. But I saw more and more examples of it. I feel like they're right. We've lost an entire vibe. You know what I mean? That movies used to have. It's different now. And he proved it to me, really efficiently, where I'm just like, so when you watch, like you were saying with the Claymation special, you see everything as back into the scene as you can get. Because of course, who would want to make all that and have to blur it out,
Yeah. It's interesting, and it does set the tone. Like with basic filmmaking, usually you start with a wide shot. It's called an establishing shot that sets everything. It's like, so the Brady Bunch, you see the outside of the house. Same with The Simpsons. In The Simpsons nuclear power plant, it's the exterior with the parking lot and a crow cause, like every time.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, certainly something that both of these specials do really well. I mean, the beginning of Emmet Otter, those giant overhead shots of the models, it's like you feel like you're there.
Yeah.
I mean, that there's a tangible quality to that I think is almost what makes it so depressing. Is like it doesn't feel stylized at all. This seems like real creatures that like you really care for. And also something else, like it I don't know, rips off, but it uses the gift of the Magi story, which for those not familiar is it's an old story about a couple that has no money, and the woman has beautiful hair, so she sells it to give a watch chain to her husband, and her husband sells the watch to get a comb for her beautiful hair, and they give each other the presents and realize what happened. And it's bittersweet, like pretty depressing. And this is kind of like that, with Emmett, he's putting the hole in the wash tub, and his mom spending, selling the tools, and this just happens to have a happy ending. But there's such a melancholy, just tragedy to that basic story anyway, that I
Yeah.
think that's part of why it hits so hard.
Yeah, because the father has died, and the tool chest is the basically the only thing he left Emmett, and that's the thing Emmett sells.
I know.
It's so, or ultimately I think his mom hawks it to get.
Yeah.
It was the mom who hawks it, and then what was it for again that she needed it? I just
So
watched this and I'm drawing a blank.
yeah, no, she needed new clothes for on
clothes.
stage because she thought her clothes were too shabby and people wouldn't, take her seriously.
And then he puts a hole in the wash tub after singing about there being no hole in the wash tub.
I know, which is funny because when you first hear the song, like it's really sweet, but it's a little weird, and especially because the opening song is really bizarre. They're singing about this like fat lady and her clothes were so big they made it into like a sail, and like all these other clothes, and it's a really weird thing to open on because it's almost mean.
Yeah. And then it gets kind of, and then they're talking about like the shape of, or how good the mom used to look in her bathing suit, right? It's kind of the concept there, which they pulled that from the book, is what I read. Like that was one of the things that Paul Williams adapted from the book into a song. That I guess she was like a beauty queen, is what the impression I get at one point.
Okay, that makes sense. And I think it's easy now to look back at films in the late 70s and the 80s and see that kind of quality and interpret it as mean. And it is a little bit, but I mean, at the time, that was much more accepted. And I think especially for creators, I mean, Jim Henson, they were flower children. They were like, the Electric Mayhem is like the Merry Pranksters. So they always had this counterculture kind of vibe to them. So I'm not surprised that something that's this dark and has an edge to it would appeal to them, and that Jim Henson wouldn't be like, no, you got to take this out on making this sweet story. I mean, a lot of stuff. Look at Fraggle Rock or Dark Crystal. Like he always wanted to push past kind of charming Muppet Show. Even just the Muppet Show, that show is super subversive.
Yeah, definitely. You just talking about Jim Henson just reminded me of this. There was a show where Henson did the puppetry for it, and it was these aliens. It came out in the 90s. It was one of the TGIF like failures, but it was a sitcom with two Jim Henson Muppet aliens, really cool looking, living with like a family, kind of like an Alf thing. And it just came up. Like I study a lot of failed TV stuff. It's one of my like, rabbit holes I go down a lot of the time, where there's all these resources going to make something and then get a pilot or 3 episodes out of it and then bail on it. But I found this one really interesting. It's like something like Aliens in the Family or something like that. But it's wild just how much better a puppet looks than a CGI creation, no matter what the era is still.
Yeah. I mean, you can light it, you can interact with it. I mean, and I think you were talking about how, the Muppets were connected to theater and the idea of having something that isn't inherently, like, as an audience, is fake,
Yeah.
and making it, giving it life. And what I feel like you could see Jim Henson doing is trying to push that as much as he could. Like, let's see how far we can take this. Let's put them in the real world. Like the Muppet movie and the show, but especially the movie, everyone treats them like they're just there. I mean, you get some things where people see him as kind of weird, but there aren't any guests on the Muppet Show that show up and are like, "Why the hell is there this talking pig?" and "What are you, Scooter?" Stuff like that. Like,
I love when
you know,
when a creator trusts the audience and is like, I'm going to let them meet me halfway,
yeah,
here and not have to explain all that stuff. Because the magic is kind of, what world is this? It feels like the other side of the looking glass, kind of. The Muppet world isn't quite our world, but it looks just like it.
yeah, yeah. I think that's exactly right, and um, yeah, I think that's right. I think you can see it in this, and maybe part of what makes Emmet Otter so powerful is that they are pushing that kind of going for kind of reality as hard as they can. Like you said, it was like a production test, for the film, including like Kermit rides a bicycle in this one,
And you can see the
and
progress too, because as good as Emmet Otter is, the Muppet movie, you can see things they fixed. Is basically what I'm
oh
saying.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even the walking is
Yeah.
probably the only thing in this that looks really weird.
Yeah.
Um,
You can kind of still get
you
the
know,
vibe of them marionetting them. Yeah.
yeah, and it also proves like until they showed those wide shots of them walking, I never thought it was weird. It's like if you watch animation, any animation, like Bob's Burgers has a lot of scenes where they're all walking around. It's always stomach up,
Yeah.
and you don't even see their hands. It's pretty easy. We did that in Infinite Santa after we realized that having them walk in one of the episodes is a major pain in the ass and only on screen for 3 seconds really.
Isn't it all? I've heard this about animators that want, yeah, they hate walking, they hate horses, and they hate thumbs.
Yep. Or in our case with Infinite Santa, we hated eating because
Yeah.
Infinite Santa's always hungry, and we wrote that into the script, and we're like, oh, these battles are going to be so hard and monsters and all that. Nope. When he had to eat, we're like, how do we do this? And and it's part of his character. So we ended up in as it went along, either not showing him actually eating, or if he eats, he puts food up in front of his mouth and makes chewing noises, and that's it.
Sometimes what comes out in those situations is really fun and comical and better than what it would have been had it looked realistic. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
I feel that way. That's one of the things I still love about hand drawn animation in particular is some of the rough edges are, to me, it's still the humanity of it. That's why AI is fine and we're going to figure out what to do with it. But I, as it is right now, I don't like it at all. The stuff
Hmm.
the slop that's coming out of it is, you can feel the emptiness of it because the glitches you see are not human glitches. They're very particular to the way a machine will glitch with the extra hands and stuff. So
Yeah.
like, the humanity of these specials and what you've made with Infinite Santa 8000, I love that, and I hope it never dies.
I think that's right. Have you seen Love, Death, and Robots?
I love that show.
So have you seen Jabaro,
No,
the one with the knight who's deaf?
no, I've only watched the first season. They've done more since then, right?
Yeah, they're all
Yeah.
amazing. Okay, so you saw Witness then, the one with the girl who oversees or sees someone murder somebody, and this long extended chase. Um, it's the same director, and that uses CGI. And what he said to all his animators, "You are welcome to use motion capture for reference, for anything, but I want you to animate it by hand because the audience can tell." And he's right. Jabaro in particular. Oh my god, dude, you have to watch the rest of the seasons. That's one of the best, and some of the best animation I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it has this unusual photorealistic quality, but it's also hand done. And it's this amazing fusion that I think eliminates what you're talking about with this kind of photorealistic AI that's glitching like a machine. And I think you're totally right. I find it kind of funny, but it's it's not really satisfying. What's interesting is there's a latest Megadeth video where people were getting really on the video for using AI CGI, and the people came out and like, no, this is a real CGI like company, like someone actually did this, and it's funny, like, and people still didn't want to believe it, which I guess is on them. But what's interesting is in watching it, I'd like to talk to this person who did it. It almost looks like they were inspired by some of the fluidity and nightmarish qualities of AI and then made it themselves.
See, that's why I'm not totally anti AI, and for other reasons, like things that no one should take the time to maybe hand draw and animate, stupid ideas that you just want to see happen. Like,
Yeah.
an example is, and this got into my algorithm, and I don't totally regret it yet, but I'm sure I will. It's Star Trek. The one I pulled was this huge hair metal video with all the different Star Trek series characters in it. And it was like a big, like a power ballad style song with Riker and Troy at the forefront of it, and it's the romantic leads in it. And it was insanely ambitious, but I don't know if it was like a series of sentences someone typed into, one of these new engines. And so it was hollow. It was funny for a while, and at moments of it felt like real emotional builds, like you would expect to have. But you don't know how much of that is a human reaction you're having or reflex you're having to familiarity. And that's why I want to come back to what you were saying about him being accused of using the AI when it was really his own stuff. Part of AI is other people's work.
I know.
That's why it may look like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I've been wondering too when people are going to start to get inspired by it, because it's only a matter of time. And I think it's interesting. So, like, I'm in a lot of Lovecraft groups on Facebook, and I mean, so much AI stuff looks just like a Lovecraft nightmare. Dripping things, odd math, and repeating, fractal bones, and all. I mean, you've seen all this stuff. And one of the groups actually had to ban AI content for the reason that, like, this is kind of soulless, and also, like, we respect artists, but I've been wondering at what point artists are going to use that as a jumping off point, and then maybe not a specific image, but the idea.
Compositions. I know artists who use it to help assist with composition, because they might, they just want to see it a certain way before they take the time to really sketch it out. And to me, that feels legit. It's like using a model, like that. I get it, because you're still putting your artistry is in you. And as long as you're holding the brush, it's going to come out. But as long as the machine is doing it, it's never human. I mean, like it's such a fine line, and it's poetic and philosophical too.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. It's like I do a lot of visual effects. I'm a freelance filmmaker. That's my job. And over the years, what I do for money is paid based on the industry and what I'm working on. And I do a lot of visual effects of, like, removing backgrounds, getting rid of gear or masking tape on the ground. For Celophaeus, I removed a bunch of lights that were in there that shouldn't have been in there. And I had a job recently. Someone wanted me to put, what was it? It was an actor with, like, a construction helmet or something, like not a stock shot, but something filmed, for it. And I was prepared to go in and cut it out by hand, like I usually do with some of my tools. And After Effects just added an AI-based edge selector.
Yeah.
And it worked really well. And it was not perfect. There were a few things it couldn't do. Like, it didn't know what to do with the light reflecting off the helmet, so I had to go in and cut that out. But it saved tons of time. And it's like, this is a menial task.
Yeah.
Like, I would do it because I know how to do it, and I don't mind. Like, it's a paid job. But and the thing too is, like, it's a tool. Like, there was another shot that was a question about whether I could do it or not. And I said, I can't use this tool for it. This has to be done the old fashioned way. I would need a lot more resources and time and money. And if you're willing to put that into it, that's great. But they eventually decided no.
Yeah. They'll usually go the cheaper way. And I don't feel there's any shame in that at all because
No.
one, it's employing people like yourself, and
Yeah.
two, it's not like a artistic pivotal point. It's a detail that supports the rest. You know what I mean? Like it's not the core of the creation. It's flavor, right, on top of what's already there.
Yeah.
So
Or
there's a
another
fine
example
line for
is,
me. Yeah.
no, totally. We just did a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo to sell a Lovecraft film called Celophaeus that we did, which you saw at Horror Hound. And it's an adaptation of a Dreamland story he did. And one of our perks is an original map of the Dreamlands that my co-creator Joel Lemieux did. And he did it in a drafting program where the only version he was able to export was small and pixelated, but Photoshop just did an update where they can upscale things. And I did it, and lo and behold, it looks amazing. You wouldn't even know. The only difference is it changed some of the letters. Like what was it? The cold waste. It decided to do COI, like O with an accent on it.
You know what though? Lovecraft might have done that too.
He would have loved it.
Yeah.
He would have loved it. Well, I changed it back to cold waste because all the nerds would get really mad at us. And I'm also a nerd, so it mattered to me. But that's a great tool. It's like I was prepared to take the map and use tricks that I know to make it bigger, and this just did great stuff. And it had errors, like a lot of the pixels it made really weird. So I still had to go in for a few hours and clean it up. It wasn't just like push a button and make it work.
It's not. Yeah,
So you still have to know.
it feels like it's not like a make or break. I stumbled across a guy who made an R&B version of Lightning Crashes by Live,
Oh, interesting.
and he did it with AI, and it's really good. But it's unsettling because like it is almost the uncanny valley at this point where and I'm a musician, like I'm being fooled by stuff. It's scary to me that it fooled me. That I thought it was this guy singing at first for a brief moment before I'm like, this is a little too polished. And then it started to sink in that it was artificial. And I'm sure some of you listening have probably heard this song. But I think our instincts will serve us in the long run as audience members and artists. I think we'll just know because when you've made something, you're proud of it, and you did it with the tools that you have set out to be part of your craft. And if that's part of what is your toolbox, and that's part of what you're working with, you'll eventually make your own thing with it.
Oh, sure. And there's other applications too. So I've worked on a lot of documentaries. Sometimes if you want to recreate, so let's say it's a story of someone who grew up, 70 years ago in a slum somewhere, or a place where there was no access to photography, an isolated village off in the wilderness or something, and you're trying to tell a story, you need to cut to something. So if you can use AI to make that, that's great. I mean, it's not as black and white.
Yeah. You'll see that with a lot of YouTube videos that cover like true crime and things like that, who want to zhuzh up their presentation. And otherwise it's just a man or a woman or a non-binary person talking into a camera. Right.
Yeah.
And if that's all it is, some people, that's enough. I'm one of those people that's enough if it's a good storyteller.
Yeah, me too.
But also, I wouldn't want someone who is trying to tell stories like that have to spend all of their time creating B-roll to support their story. And if it's the difference of them having it or not because they can't afford to pay someone to do it, that for me, why not do it? At that point.
I feel the same way. It's like when Late Night with the Devil came out, and instead of focusing on the fact that they pulled off this incredible achievement of this period piece, TV in the 70s, really complicated idea and effects on a very small budget.
Still scary
that they were
too.
focusing. Oh yeah, it was great. And especially for nothing. I mean, the budget was tiny. And some people were focusing on how they used AI for some of those intertitles or those like "we'll be right back" things. I even saw some people saying, "Oh, they should have hired me to do it." It's like, if they had money, they would have hired anybody. Like, they clearly did it because like they were either out of money or they had no time Like,
Yeah.
screw it. We have 6 shots we need. We can make this in Mid-Journey in 5 minutes, or we can try to find $1,000 to pay somebody.
Right.
You know, I don't think they had that money at that time. And even if they did, it's like such a remarkable achievement. Who cares? You know?
Yeah, I get the artist side of it because it is kind of destroying an industry, but at the same time, it's supporting the same industry at certain levels. The same
Yeah,
thing that's
and just
destroying it is helping it. It's really screwy.
yeah. Well, like, careful who you pick on. Like, it's not like a job for Universal or Coca-Cola or someone that can absolutely afford, to pay someone. It's like, I know the NFL has done some weird stuff. Like, I was watching one of the Patriots games and they had an AI Mike Rabel that looked just really unsettling. And it's like, I know there are people that can do that. I worked with some of them,
Right.
when I was interning, and that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
But don't,
I've seen people firsthand who've lost their jobs because of the wave of AI who work in design. And that's like you're saying, the big dogs need to pay.
yeah,
It's only fair.
don't pick on a small dog, I guess, or even like the Megadeth video I brought up. It's like, I mean, they're a legacy band, people know of them, but it's not like Metallica. Even since they came out, they've always been a little second tier in terms of popularity, and they've had an incredible career. But I don't think it's not like Metallica or another giant band, like Ozzy Osbourne or something, where the budgets could be as massive as they wanted. Like, they're still an independent label. Like, even if it is AI, why are you piling on this particular thing? Like, if it really bothers you that much, go after, I don't know. I don't know if Post Malone's used it, but for example, someone like him,
I think the pressure needs to be on the bigger studios to
mhm.
continue to be employers. That's the part of me that's kind of a socialist. Where I'm like, no, you guys shouldn't be able to just wipe out an entire division and replace it with a machine. It's the automotive industry all over again.
Completely.
Yeah, it's very sad. But we've celebrated things that were made by human beings today, and we had a lot of
Yes.
fun.
Yeah, we have.
YouTube at Infinite Santa 8000. Watch the web series. I like it. It's like a concentrated version of the movie in a lot of ways. And then if you like what you see there, definitely pick up the movie. It's a great gift.
Yeah, please do. And, like we said, Infinite Santa came out 15 years ago on YouTube. It was a very different place, and web series didn't even really exist. I mean, YouTube was 5 years old, and the keywords were all different. You couldn't even choose the thumbnail you uploaded. You had to they gave you choices from the video, and you just kind of picked one. And we had an amazing run and made some great fans, and I'm incredibly happy with it. But what happened was YouTube kind of left us behind as the algorithm changed, and we didn't have any new content, so they had no reason to kind of do that. So this year, our big goal is to get people back to it. So we can't re-upload the episodes, but we made a trailer that we uploaded, and we're going to put out we have 3 more videos coming up between now and Christmas. A couple trailers, something we've done with my son before that's super fun, and then just other posts. But what we're trying to do is we don't have a new season for it, but we have this entire season that's just sitting there waiting to be discovered. So our big goal is just pump it into the algorithm. And that's why if people go to the website or to YouTube, just watch the videos. Watch them all the way through, by the way. YouTube counts when you stop watching. Share it from YouTube itself instead of just copying the link. All this stuff helps. And one thing I've learned over the years as an indie filmmaker, you really rely on your fans and also people like yourself and the NOTLP, press really to get our stuff out there. Because if it's just me, I feel like I'm shouting into a void.
Right.
Like, I really do.
Well, we love to help you, Michael, because you're good people and we're fans of your work. And it's Christmas too. I mean, you have the perfect thing. Perfect thing.
Darn right.
It's a little bit of it's a little bit of your science fiction, your horror, your animation, but it's Christmas, it's the holidays. What a perfect
Yeah.
thing to feature on the show.
Aw. It does have a heart.
Yeah.
It's absurdly violent, but it does actually have a real sweetness to it. So
I can vouch for that.
yeah, that's right.
Well, thanks for coming back, Michael. This was great.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Give our love to Greg and the family. Jasper,
Yep.
you're the
Will
best.
do. Same to the other NOTLPers. Love those guys and girls.
Will do. Thanks again.